As we enter the engineering section of the Groundbreaker, we notice that the air in front of us is warped. This is an effect you commonly see when the air becomes heated and distorts the refractive angle of light. In plain English, it's hot in here. Perhaps Junlei can explain to us why her engineering floor feels more like a sauna.
Junlei Tennyson. I'm captain around here, but chief to my friends. Hope you don't mind the formal introduction. Groundbreaker doesn't see many visitors.
Nice to meet you. I'm captain of the Unreliable, recently unshackled from Groundbreaker's impound.
Good for you. Hope you scared some sense into those bureaucrats giving you trouble. Just so we understand each other, I'm the final word on the ship. The Mardits, the crew, the engineers, their family. I hope there won't be any problems while you're visiting.
Oh, you don't have to worry about me. I'll do whatever I can to keep the peace.
Good. Don't go making trouble, and chances are you won't find any. That's how I like it here. So what brings you to Groundbreaker? I'm curious, even though 9 times out of 10 the answer's just passing through.
Well, just passing through.
Statistics don't lie. We see a lot of the same faces coming and going, most of them board spies and corporate sprats. Makes it hard to trust outsiders. You seem different, so welcome aboard.
You'll recall that when we first docked our ship here at the Groundbreaker, Parvati pulled us aside and asked if we could go speak to the chief engineer, Junlei Tennyson.
A lady named Junlei Tennyson? I was thinking that maybe I ought to meet her. If you got time to swing us by, I mean.
So go ahead, Parvati. Now's your chance.
What? I didn't think you just...
Parvati, is it? That's a lovely name. What can I do for you?
I was just thinking, I haven't got much experience working with actual, real spaceships, Miss Junlei. Chief Junlei.
Junlei is fine.
No need to be so formal, Parvati.
Force of habit, I guess. Okay. Since you run a whole space station, I was wondering if... Well, maybe you could teach me some things. I could message you later, maybe?
I'd be happy to make the time, Parvati. You can ask me anything.
And we can nudge Parvati to continue.
Wow, great! I'll do that then. Messages. Later. Oh, your name's pretty too. I should have said... Sorry. I like it. Honest. Sorry.
Nice job, Parvati.
Couldn't have done it without your moral support, Captain.
Now, if there's nothing else, there are other parts of the ship begging for my attention.
Well, I did want to ask you about the temperature in here. Kinda feels like we're walking on the surface of Venus, if you know what I mean. What's going on?
Groundbreaker's radiators need replacement parts. They're dumping superheated air into my ship.
I see. Why haven't you fixed them yet?
Only the board has access to new parts, and I won't let them swindle me into a corner.
Well, surely the board doesn't want Groundbreaker to roast.
They want us to sweat, thinking that'll soften me up for a bad faith deal. If you'll excuse me, they can go fuck themselves. The board isn't helping and my resources are spread thin. If I don't get those radiators back online, Groundbreaker, everyone aboard, will be cooked alive.
Sounds to me like you need a contractor to work this out. Lucky for you, I'm available at a reasonable rate.
Reasonable, huh? That's the best news I've heard all day. According to my grandmother's old schematics, the parts we need should be in the back bays.
Your grandmother's schematics? Sounds like that's some pretty old information to be going off of, Junlei. How do you know the parts are still there?
I keep diligent records of station repairs, requisitions, and available assets, just like my grandmother taught me. The station's radiators haven't changed since her time, and her records say the parts should be there. I trust them.
But let me guess, there's a catch, isn't there?
The back bays are on a lower deck, long abandoned, and a haven for miscreants now.
Have you tried sending anyone else down there to get the parts?
I have. One of my engineers, plus a small security detail. They didn't come back. I can't afford to lose any Mardits on this job. No offense, but a freelancer like you is more dispensable.
Ouch, Junlei, that's pretty harsh. Why so protective?
Mardits are descended from the original Marine detachment that crossed the void with Groundbreaker. I don't put their lives on the line if I can avoid it.
Couldn't we just try to talk this out with whoever's down there?
Those idiots are immune to reason, and they don't much care if the station melts to pieces. They're content to die last. If you could find some way to solve this without violence, I'd prefer that. But more than anything, we need those parts.
Alright, I'll get you those parts.
Good. Once you've obtained the parts, we can proceed to the next phase of repairs.
This starts the quest, Happiness is a Warm Spaceship. Heading out of Junlei's office, we can interact with a few of the engineers to see what they have to say.
Whatever it is, I'm working on it.
Good law, the heat in here is so unbearable I can hardly even concentrate. Junlei better hurry up with those damn repairs already.
I seen Junlei fix a turbine with just engine tape and baling wire. She sure loves this old wreck. Junlei is about the only thing holding this leaky old wreck together.
Seems like these people have a lot of respect for Junlei, and honestly, I can see why. She obviously cares about her engineers greatly, considering the fact that she wasn't willing to send any more of them into the lower levels of the Groundbreaker out of concern for their lives. The elevator that leads down to the back bays is pretty hard to miss. Just exit the engineering area and walk straight across the walkway. Unlike the temperature on the upper levels, our welcome into the back bays isn't exactly warm.
Hey, McRed, were you expecting any company?
A neighbor from above approaches our realm. Back away now, or you'll parley with the king.
Oh man, these people don't seem like the friendliest bunch. If we want to avoid violence, we'd better tread lightly.
Look at this ripe piece of meat just sizzling on the grill. Yum, yum. Time to feed the flames. It's nothing personal. Promise.
Is this what carbon monoxide poisoning looks like? I don't think this deck is too well ventilated.
You came with the crew. Welcome. We got plenty of space to spread out, but only room for one captain.
If we're skilled enough in persuasion, we can say, put that thing down before you incinerate the entire deck.
I know this ain't a toy, neighbor from above. It's a catalyst, just like me. Keep talking. I like the sound of your voice.
I'm here for some parts. Junlei sent me.
That's right, sir. Just the parts. We'll be in and out in a jiff. You won't even know we were here.
Tennyson just keeps feeding the furnace, don't she? We're still playing with her last sacrifice out back, with the crew.
Oh no. What are you gonna do to that poor engineer?
We were just sitting in a circle, sucking down exhaust fumes and toasting to the memory of our brain cells. Making this broken angel fly again.
Boy, Junlei sure wasn't kidding when she referred to these people as miscreants. They're a bunch of druggies, and it doesn't exactly seem like they value human life either. So what do you think, McRed? Can I go ahead and grab the parts?
You don't just ask a king for a favor when you're standing in his court. You bring tribute, sacrifices, prophecy, shit like that.
As you can see, we're given a few different options here. We can either bribe McRed with 592 bits, which I didn't have at the time. We can lie and say, those parts are leaking deadly toxins. I'll just come back after you're dead. But I wasn't skilled enough in dialogue at the time, so that was also out of the equation. The only option I had, other than attack, was to say, I'll be right back after I scourge together some tribute. Now, full disclosure here, I wasn't able to figure out what I was supposed to be looking for in order to pay McRed tribute. I thought it could have been offering him some kind of drug in exchange for the parts, but I was never given the option to make such a transaction, so I'm not entirely sure. I ended up finishing this quest in a different way, but if you happen to know what McRed meant by pay tribute, let me know in the comments below. The main hall doesn't have too much of interest, except for a scrap mechanical on the left-hand side, and some kind of destroyed control room to the far north. We do find a few items in here, some ammo, a mag pick, a few bins, but in the interest of keeping the peace, I decided not to steal anything. Heading back out into the main hall and taking a right just past the mechanical, we can head down some stairs and through a door into another control room, though this one is much smaller and looks to be operational. In the corner of the room, we find Private Letty Dixon.
You're the first person I've seen who talked their way past McRed. That may not sound like much, but take my word for it. Wow.
I'll take that as a compliment. So what are you doing down here?
Junlei sent me down to collect the parts we need to fix the radiators. McRed got me all distracted sucking fumes and talking about the cosmos.
So this was the engineer that Junlei was telling us about earlier. The one that she sent down here and never saw again. I suppose it's a good thing that she's alive, but then again, this doesn't seem like much of a life down here anyway. Look, Miss Dixon, you're probably better off upstairs in engineering than you are down here with the outlaws.
I'll get back to my post. See you topside, stranger.
Oh, well, that was easy. I thought that would have been a little bit more difficult. Heading back up the stairs to the main hall and then turning left past the mechanical, we notice a square hole cut out of the wall. It looks like there's an upper floor, and based on our objective marker, this is where the radiator parts are. But how do we get up there? As we continue to explore, we find that the main hallway connects to a shorter hallway to the east. There are some stairs bathed in a red light on our left, and when we start to approach them,
Not another step in that direction, friend.
McRed warns us not to go up the stairs. Should we listen to him and turn back? Or should we just ignore the fact that he's a drug-addled psychopath who'd think nothing of killing us and go up the stairs anyway? Screw it. I'll take my chances. Enemies appear on our compass as we head through a door at the top of the stairs. And then suddenly, McRed's outlaws attack.
On your left, Captain! You okay, Captain?
Woo! What a fight! So much for trying to get in and out of this place without any violence. Look at this room! So many dead bodies just stacked up on top of one another. One of these bodies belongs to Captain McRed, who has in his possession a weapon called the Montag. The Montag deals 189 DPS and is sort of like a lock-on flamethrower, only instead of flames, it shoots streams of electricity. The only downside is that, in my opinion, the range on the Montag isn't the best. You have to get in pretty close to an enemy before the electricity even starts to flow out of the gun. But we still have to ask ourselves, why didn't Captain McRed want us to come up here? Clearly, he and the outlaws have something of value in this room that they wanted to protect. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had a reason to attack us. Well, if we travel to the south end of the room, we see these strange purplish blue plants growing up from a bed of soil. On a small table against the western wall, we find Junior Mycologist's log. When I settled on Groundbreaker, I thought this would be my gateway to the stars, the beginning of my epic tale as a spacer. Now I grow shrooms for a bunch of outlaws, not even for selling. They just eat the damn things by the handful. Some of the crew have been tripping for weeks. So that's what the outlaws are trying to protect. That's why they didn't want us going upstairs. They didn't want us messing with their shrooms. The note continues. Suppose it could be worse. Heard of a sublight contractor who got dissolved in chemicals and flushed down waste treatment for stealing from Lilla. Now McRed, he's always happy to see me. Calls me his fungus lad. Update. McRed just set a man on fire for having his laces undone. Oh shit. Maybe I need to be more careful about what I'm growing. Ought to find something that calms him down. Time to experiment. My gosh, Captain McRed is even more ruthless than we thought. Setting someone on fire just because their shoelace was untied? Are you kidding me? As much as I hate to say it, I think that killing him and his team of outlaws was justified. Now that he's gone, it means that no one else will suffer. No more innocent lives will be lost, and Groundbreaker will be an overall safer place for everyone. Plus, by killing McRed and the outlaws, we get quite a bit of loot and McRed's weapon, the Montag. So for multiple reasons, I think the violent approach, in this case, is justified and more beneficial. However, if you really want to keep the peace, you can lie to McRed and tell him that the radiator parts are leaking deadly toxins.
Under its skin, this ship is all poison and darkness. Lead bones, asbestos muscle. Maybe you're right. You've got the run of the kingdom. Up those stairs, you'll find the parts. My crew won't get in your way.
You need to be skilled in dialogue to pull this off, but if you do, McRed gives you free reign of the back bays and will not attack you regardless of where you go. Unless, of course, you provoke him. However, in my playthrough, I don't want McRed alive, so I'm going to continue with my hostile approach to this quest. It's not what I initially intended, but it's certainly what it's become. On the west side of the main hallway, we find a stairway leading up to a sealed door, but since I didn't have enough mag picks at the time, I had to climb a nearby ladder instead. From here, we can follow the hallway until we're forced to crouch beneath a small hole in the wall into a connecting room. There's a few outlaws here for us to take out.
I'm ready for this! You picked the wrong tactic! We made it! Put him in the dirt! Don't mess with us!
In this room, hanging on the western wall, we find the parts Junlei asked us to retrieve. There's a short set of stairs heading down to the north, and after looting a bin for some Adreno, bit cartridges, and a shock cannon, we can return to the main hallway. From here, we can hop back into the elevator and return to Junlei with the parts.
Good work. I'll take those.
Here's another thing to note. Even though Junlei asks us to try to get those parts without violence if possible, she doesn't react any different regardless of the approach we take. Violence or non-violence, it doesn't seem to matter. She has the same dialogue options.
I need you to head through the large door at the far end of engineering. Take the elevator down into the machinery shaft. There's a terminal in the back. Activate it when I call over the ship's PA. And bring weapons. There's a slight Manta Pillar infestation.
Oh, wonderful. Sounds fun. Alright, I'll make my way down there and see what I can do.
Don't worry, Miss Junlei. We'll be super gentle with the ship. You don't got a thing to worry about. I mean, aside from fires and such.
I'm genuinely heartened to hear that. Thank you.
With that, we can travel to the far north end of the engineering room, and then turn right into an elevator. This takes us all the way down into the machinery shaft. Junlei starts giving us instructions over the PA system, but there's no time to sit around and listen. There are Manta Pillars among us.
Down they go! Well, that's gotta hurt.
With the Manta Pillars now splattered across the floor, we can have a look around. This room is much larger than it looks, stretching all the way up to a second tier and beyond. Steam is escaping from various objects and machinery, and just like upstairs, the air here is warped due to the temperature. There's a couple of bypass shunts on a stack of containers, but nothing else here for us to loot. Continuing to the north, we can head up a ladder and then take out another Manta Pillar.
Watch out!
Just past the Manta Pillar, we find a couple of bins for us to loot and 2 mag picks on top of a container. Looking out across the room, we notice something that we somehow missed earlier on the lower level. A terminal right next to the elevator shaft. Backtracking now, we can return to the first floor and access the terminal. On it, we find 2 archived logs, the first of which is titled Arrival Confirmation. To HHB, Earth HQ, transmitted via probe, archived at source. It is my honor to report that Groundbreaker has successfully arrived at the Lagrange point, having released our cargo of prefab housing, settlers, and supplies at their intended colony worlds. May they prosper and expand. Now that stages 1 and 2 of the mission have been carried out, my family will take ownership of the Groundbreaker, as specified in our contract, keeping the ship in active duty as an independent trading post, repair shop, and cargo bay. I'd be remiss if I closed this transmission without sending my hopes and best wishes back to Earth. There's so much ahead of us, but we'll never forget what we left behind. Chief Geeing. This must have been one of the first messages sent back to Earth after the Groundbreaker arrived in Halcyon. I can't help but wonder what kind of a world they left behind, though. Maybe that would make a good topic for a future video. The next log is titled A Stern Reminder. Some very rich and unsavory elements among our colonial neighbors seem to have the wrong idea about why I flew us out here. It wasn't for a 9-figure blood money salary and a Spacer's Choice logo stamped on my ass. It wasn't to nickel and dime passing ships out of their last bit. Groundbreaker has no role in the success or failure of Halcyon's corporate entities. Period. I negotiated that understanding and clearly outlined it in writing before I ever set foot on this ship. If anyone wants to dispute or compromise our independence, they will answer to Tennyson. We're a family operation. Even when the last Tennyson falls, Groundbreaker will remember us and defend its freedom accordingly. Notice that Chief Geeing wrote, "We are a family operation," when referring to the Tennysons, which tells me that she too was a Tennyson. Otherwise, she wouldn't have used the inclusive word we. This is likely Junlei's grandmother. Her passion for the Groundbreaker is admirable, and her determination to keep the ship free from corporate rule has earned her and her family a tremendous amount of respect. Backing out of the terminal, we can head back up the ladder for a second time and through a door. It's then that we notice more enemies appearing on our compass, which we can confront by passing through a second door to the east, making our way up some stairs, and then finally heading through a third door. Lots of doors in this place, apparently.
Here we go! Don't mess with us!
That's strange. Junlei didn't mention anything about hostile sentries down here. I wonder if she even knows. There's a small amount of loot we can grab, and then traveling to the west, we come to a room with even more sentries.
Unexpected. Okay, here we go! Way to go, Cap!
2 more to go. Where are they? Aha!
Can't get past that armor!
There's just one more of these damn sentries left, and it's somewhere below us. I tried backtracking to see if I could get over to it, but I was stopped by a door that was barred shut. This door is in the room we first entered after climbing the ladder. Heading back up into the room with the grated floor, we can loot a couple of bins and then jump down to the bottom of a nearby ladder. At last, we find the combat drone.
That's the terminal. I have the parts in position on my side. Go ahead and cycle the droplet pump. Don't know what happened.
And good riddance. This appears to be some kind of storage room. There is a large shelf running along the northern wall, but sadly, and surprisingly, not very much loot. There is, however, a terminal that we can access to read the personal logs of one JT, Junlei Tennyson. The first log is titled Cobbled Together. The staff is getting restless. Workaround and half-cocked solutions are all we've got to mend Groundbreaker's bones. In many cases, we can't revive one system without cannibalizing another. Grandma lived with that reality, and so will I. I can rally our spirits, but what happens when I'm not around? Groundbreaker's real test will be seeing if our independence outlasts me. I'll take that bet. Finally, in the next log titled Old Plans, New Problems, Junlei writes, "Found some of Chief Ying's old schematics. Groundbreaker must have taken a beating during the crossing, because she spent half of her career patching it up. Lot of corners cut when they put this place together." Among her papers, I also found the layout of a hangar that doesn't match any of my docks, something that might have gotten sealed off along the way, like blood cells isolating an infection. I hate to put sentiment down in print, but every time I open a panel or find some workaround in the guts of this old bird, it's like I can feel you reaching out to me from the past, Grandma. Well, that's touching. I'll address the relationship between Junlei and her grandmother more at the end of the video. But for now, we can return to the main page of the terminal and select Cycle Droplet Pumps. With that, we can head through a barred door to the east, and after heading back upstairs, we can speak to Junlei.
My boards are returning to green. What a weight that is off my shoulders. I don't normally tolerate outsiders mucking about in my station's guts, but you're all right. The temperature should be dropping as we speak. I'll see to it the crew knows who kept us all from boiling alive. If you've got time, I believe Edna has a comms issue that could use your attention. I've also authorized Doc and Furu to sell you our premium meds.
For completing this quest, we are rewarded with 3,000 bit cartridges and a pair of welder's goggles. We're also given access to Doc Mafuru's shop, where we can purchase a variety of meds, pills, and other items. You can't help but have an enormous amount of respect for Junlei. Unlike most other characters in the Outer Worlds, she's motivated by something other than money. She's motivated by things like tradition, by legacy, by family. It's a breath of fresh air in an otherwise greedy and unforgiving world. What I thought was masterful here on Obsidian's part was their storytelling ability. Junlei's grandmother isn't even a character that we can meet and interact with, and yet at the same time, it was like she was with us through the entire quest. Obsidian didn't just tell us about the relationship between Junlei and her grandmother, they actually made us feel that bond in a very profound way. And that, I think, is why this was one of my favorite quests in the game so far. But I'd love to know what you think, folks. Do you think Obsidian's storytelling ability shine bright in this quest, or am I just overreacting? What did you think of Captain McRed? Did you end up killing him and the other outlaws like I did, or were you able to take a more peaceful approach? Let me know in the comments below. I post new videos on the Outer Worlds every Wednesday and Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, so be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification icon so that you can be alerted when I post new content. If you're so inclined, leave a like on this video too. I'd really appreciate it. I'll be back in just a few days with a brand new video on the Outer Worlds, but that's all I've got for now. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Have you seen this man? Reward offered for information leading to the capture of noted terrorist Phineas Wells. Report any sightings to your local board embassy.